I consider myself something of a video game evangelist, someone who believes in the power of this interactive medium as intrinsically superior to that of other forms of digital entertainment. But even I must admit that video games, for everything they do better than does TV or movies, still have a large gap to close when it comes to storytelling. Consider the Thaumaturge a gap closer, a game I'd feel comfortable holding up alongside any TV show or movie story and saying, "We demand to be taken seriously." That joke works on multiple levels because the Thaumaturge is also about magicians. Demon-taming, dimension-bending magicians at that. The year is 1905 and you are Wiktor Szulski.
With a W, not a V.
A grimoire-toting Polish Pokemon hunter of sorts. Only the Pokemon are salutors that feed on your innermost emotional flaws, and catching one turns you into a mentally shattered lunatic. Luckily, divisive Russian mystic Grigory Rasputin, that's the Rasputin, whom you meet in a muddy Georgian village, can hypnotize you back to health and get you back to catching those fucked Pokemon monster demons. But when you receive word of a family tragedy, you're called back to Warsaw, and before long find yourself knee-deep in a political powder keg of Russian expansionism and Polish pride. And it turns out that Rasputin's burgeoning godlike complex might just be the fuse. In other words, holy shit is this game cool. In fact, I think it's the most engrossed I've ever been with a video game's plot, thanks in large part to its fascinating cast of semi-historically accurate characters and wonderfully voice-acted dialogue that's equal parts witty, believable, and thought-provoking.
If there's something I've learned in life, Victor, it's never to neglect the horse.
And while I'll most remember the Thaumaturge for its storytelling, that's not to say the remainder of the game is any less compelling. Far from it, in fact, as the game features a complex and creative turn-based combat system that pits you and your army of salutors against any Polak or Ruski stupid enough to piss you off. As you level up, you'll gain Thaumaturgy points that you can allocate to 4 dimensions: heart, mind, deed, and word, each of which has a salutor associated with it. As you allocate points into this dimensional skill tree, you'll unlock new combat skills and modifiers, which you can customize before any encounter. And you'd better, because certain enemies have powerful traits that you'll need to disable with the salutor they're most susceptible to, meaning in each fight you might end up rotating multiple times through this assortment of demon pals. But that's only half the fun. The other side of the game's combat coin is all about timing. Up here you'll see each round's order of attacks. Your best bet when outnumbered will be attempting to interrupt the next enemy in line, either with a direct attack or by breaking their focus. Reducing an enemy's focus to 0 results in a guard break, opening your foe up to a devastating super attack. It all adds up to this deadly dance between attacking, interrupting, disabling traits, and healing, and I just couldn't get enough of it. Which is saying something, because the game throws a lot of it at you, at times feeling a bit forced even, like the game was worried of boring you with its at times slow burn story and general lack of non-combat mechanics. While it's hard to get bored running around such a committed historical recreation of Warsaw at the ugly turn of the 20th century, especially when you factor in all these fun little touches that make the city feel alive and lived in, there is still admittedly not a whole lot for Victor to do outside of punching, talking, changing his haircut for the 20th time, and catching a carriage to the next quest. Luckily, the game has a dizzying number of interesting side quests that complement the main story nicely, peeling back the curtain of high society before plunging you headfirst into the city's criminal underworld.
Did someone say Russian roulette?
But no matter where you go, you'll look good doing it. The Thaumaturge features crisp UE5 textures and nice lighting on epic settings, not to mention some awesome creature designs. However, the steady barrage of choppy cutscene animations and clipping holds this micrometric back from a 5, which is not the case for the game's incredible soundtrack. Accordions, clarinets, strings, and even the goddamn hurdy-gurdy combine to create an unusual and atmospheric blend of Polish horror folk music that my ears just gobbled up. Before wrapping up, a few tiny gripes. First, boss fights in the Thaumaturge, which occur whenever you attempt to capture new salutor, are surprisingly mid for how strong the combat system is. I mean, they're really just normal encounters with an extra wave of damage thrown at you every few turns. Second, while the user interface here is sleek, helpful, and easy to navigate, I often lost track of where side quest locations were. Would love to see them get added to the main map in a future update. Finally, the game's load times are lightning fast. More importantly though, I did encounter 2 crashes during my playthrough, but they were ultimately insignificant thanks to the game's reliable autosave feature. In conclusion, I beat the Thaumaturge in 18 hours without touching much of the optional content, meaning there are several salutors out there that I still haven't tamed. Between them, the game's multiple endings, and a dialogue system that locks a significant number of options depending on your level of pridefulness, the Thaumaturge feels like it was built to be a 2 or even 3 playthrough kind of experience. At $35 and for this level of excellence, consider me more than impressed with the game's value, which leaves us with a second best all-time aggregate megascore of 4.43 out of 5. Until next time, this is Scope, and thanks for watching.